There are moments when the soul becomes so tired of fighting that even prayer feels heavy. There are seasons when heart has cried so long, waited so long, endured so long, that silence begins to feel louder than the promises of God. And yet Psalm 65 opens not with panic, not with striving, not with complaint, but with a holy stillness. Praise waiteth for thee, O God, and shout, and unto thee shall the vow be performed. Praise waiteth, not praise screams, not praise rushes, not praise forces its way through the door. Praise waits. There is a kind of worship that is born in noise, but there is another kind that is formed in silence, a deeper worship, a mature worship, a worship that sits at the gate of God's presence and says, Lord, I do not understand everything you are doing, but I will wait here until you speak. I will wait here until you move. I will wait here until my soul remembers who you are. Psalm 65 is not merely a song about harvest. It is not only a psalm about rain, fields, rivers, valleys, and grain. Beneath the beauty of its language is a divine pattern. It is the movement of the soul from guilt to grace, from barrenness to abundance, from silence to singing, from inward heaviness to outward fruitfulness. David begins with God in Zion, the place of worship, the place of covenant, the place where heaven touches earth. Before he speaks of blessings in the land, he speaks of the God who hears prayer. O thou that hearest prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come. This is where the wounded believer must pause. God hears prayer, not only the polished prayer, not only the confident prayer, not only the prayer spoken with perfect faith and clean hands and steady voice. God hears the trembling prayer, the whispered prayer, the broken prayer, the prayer that can barely make it past the lips, the prayer soaked in tears, the prayer that sounds more like breathing than words. There are prayers you prayed that you thought disappeared into the ceiling. There are cries you release in private that no one else knew how to interpret. There are groans your soul offered when your mouth had no language left. But Psalm 65 reminds us that God is not deaf to pain. He is not distant from the wounded. He is not indifferent to the weary. The God of Scripture is the God who hears. And because he hears prayer, all flesh shall come to him. That means the proud will eventually have to come. The broken will be invited to come. The guilty will need to come. The nations will one day come. The wounded child, the burdened mother, the tired servant, the hidden intercessor, the believer who has been fighting battles no one sees. All flesh shall come to one who hears prayer. But then David says something deeply human. Iniquities prevail against me. As for our transgressions, thou shalt purge them away. He does not pretend to be stronger than sin. He does not hide behind religious language. He says, iniquities prevail against me. There are moments when the believer does not feel victorious. There are moments when old wounds, old patterns, old fears, old temptations, old accusations, and old shame seem to rise with force greater than our strength. David is honest enough to admit that sin and weakness can feel overwhelming. And this is where self-examination must begin, not with condemnation, but with truth. What has been prevailing against you? Is it fear? Is it bitterness? Is it secret resentment? Is it unbelief that hides beneath spiritual language? Is it the need to control everything because deep down you are afraid God will not come through? Is it anger toward people who never apologized? Is it jealousy of those who seem to receive what you have been praying for? Is it exhaustion that has slowly turned into distance from God? There is no healing where there is no honesty. There is no deliverance where there is no confession. The soul that cannot say, Lord, this is prevailing against me, will keep dressing its wounds instead of bringing them to the altar. But David does not stop at the weight of iniquity. He says, as for our transgressions, thou shalt purge them away. This is the mercy of God. God does not merely expose what is unclean. He purges it. He does not reveal sin to shame the repentant heart. He reveals it to cleanse it. He does not bring hidden wounds into the light to destroy you. He brings them into the light because darkness cannot heal what it is still allowed to hide. The enemy condemns. God convicts. The enemy says, "You are too far gone." God says, "Come near." The enemy says, "Your failure is your identity." God says, "I will purge your transgressions away." This is spiritual warfare. Not only the loud warfare of rebuking darkness, but the quiet warfare of refusing to agree with shame. The war of the soul is often fought at the place of identity. Satan wants a believer to look at their weakness and say, "This is who I am." But God calls a believer to look at his mercy and say, "This is who he is." And who is he? He is the God who hears prayer. He is the God who purges sin. He is the God who chooses, draws near, satisfies, answers, establishes, and crowns. David continues, "Blessed is the man whom thou choosest, and causest approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts." This is not casual religion. This is holy nearness. The blessed person is not merely the one who receives things from God. The blessed person is the one whom God brings close. There is a blessing deeper than provision. There is a blessing deeper than answered prayers. There is a blessing deeper than open doors. It is the blessing of being drawn into the presence of God and allowed to dwell in his courts. Some people want God's hand, but not his heart. They want the harvest, but not the holiness. They want the blessing, but not the breaking. They want comfort without consecration. But Psalm 65 reveals that the greatest gift is not what God gives around you. It is what God does within you. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thy house, even of thy holy temple. Satisfied. That word is a wound to the restless soul, because many believers are living saved but not satisfied, forgiven but still famished, busy but still barren, surrounded by noise but starving for presence. The world offers endless appetite, but no satisfaction. It teaches us to consume more, chase more, prove more, perform more, compare more. But the house of God offers a different kind of fullness. The goodness of his house does not merely entertain the soul, it restores it. There is a satisfaction that only comes when the soul stops begging broken wells to do what only the living God can do. Beloved, what have you been asking to satisfy you that was never meant to carry that weight? Approval cannot satisfy the soul. Money cannot satisfy the soul. A relationship cannot satisfy the soul. A platform cannot satisfy the soul. Success cannot satisfy the soul. Even ministry cannot satisfy the soul if the heart has lost intimacy with God. Only his presence can reach the hidden thirst. Only his goodness can quiet the inward ache. Only his holiness can make the soul whole. Then David lifted his eyes from the temple to the earth, from personal cleansing to cosmic authority. By terrible things and righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation. God answers, but sometimes his answers are terrible things in righteousness. That means his deliverance may shake what needed to be shaken. His intervention may confront what we wanted him to comfort. His answer may come through disruption, exposure, separation, or divine overturning. God is not tame. He is good, but he is not tame. He is merciful, but he is holy. He is gentle with the broken, but he is terrifying to the powers of darkness. He does not merely soothe his people. He saves them. And salvation often includes a collapse of what held them captive. This is divine reversal. The thing that looked immovable begins to tremble. The enemy that looked powerful begins to lose ground. The wilderness that looked permanent begins to receive rain. The valley that looked forgotten begins to shout for joy. The place where you wept becomes the place where God proves his faithfulness. David says God is the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are far off upon the sea. He is not a local deity. He is not a small God. He is not limited to one place, one people, one circumstance, one season, or one kind of problem. He is the confidence of the ends of the earth. He is God over the mountains, God over the seas, God over the storms, God over the morning, God over the evening, God over the chaos, God over the harvest, God over the places you can control, and the places you cannot, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, being girded with power. The mountains that intimidate us are held still by his strength. The sea that overwhelms us is quieted by his command, which stilleth the noise of the seas, the noise of their waves, and the tumult of the people. There are seas outside of us, and there are seas within us. There are waves of circumstance and waves of emotion. There's a tumult of people, voices, opinions, accusations, betrayals, misunderstandings, conflicts, demands. And sometimes the loudest storm is not around us, but inside us. But the God of Psalm 65 stills noise. He stills the waves. He stills the raging of nations. He stills the trembling heart. He stills the anxious mind. He stills the believer who's been living in survival mode so long that peace feels unfamiliar. The enemy often uses noise as a weapon. Noise in the mind, noise in the home, noise in the heart, noise in the spirit, noise from the past, noise from people, noise from fear, noise from accusation. Because if he can keep your soul noisy, he can make it difficult for you to discern the still, small voice of God. But the Lord stills the noise, not always by removing every wave, but by establishing his authority above it. There comes a moment when the believer must say, "My storm is real, but it is not sovereign. My fear is loud, but it is not Lord. My circumstances are heavy, but they are not higher than God." Then the psalm shifts again. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice. Morning and evening, beginning and ending, rising and resting, the first breath and the final sigh. God is present at both edges of the day. He meets the believer in the morning when strength is needed, and he meets the believer in the evening when the weight of the day must be surrendered. He is not only the God of new beginnings, he is also the God of holy endings. He knows how to close doors without abandoning you. He knows how to end seasons without ending your story. He knows how to let something die so something righteous can live. Then comes the rain. Thou visitest the earth and waterest it. Thou greatly enrichest it with the river of God, which is full of water. This is one of the most tender revelations in the psalm. God visits the earth. The dry place is not forgotten. The barren place is not abandoned. The cracked ground is not invisible. When God visits, he waters. When God waters, he enriches. When God enriches, he prepares. Thou preparest them corn, when thou hast so provided for it. Before the harvest appears, God is already preparing it. Before the field looks fruitful, God is already working beneath the soil. Before the answer becomes visible, God is already moving in hidden places. This is for the wounded believer who feels dry. You may look at your life and say, "Nothing is growing here," but dryness is not death when God has decided to send rain. The ground may be cracked, but it is still ground. The seed may be buried, but it is still seed. The season may be delayed, but it is not denied. God knows how to water what grief dried up. God knows how to enrich what loss depleted. God knows how to prepare fruit in places that looked finished. Thou waterest the ridges thereof abundantly. Thou settlest the furrows thereof. Thou makest it soft with showers. Thou blessest the springing thereof. Notice this. Before God blesses the springing, he softens the ground. Hard ground cannot receive seed properly. And many hearts have become hard not because they are wicked, but because they have been wounded. Pain can harden the soil. Disappointment can harden the soil. Betrayal can harden the soil. Unanswered prayer can harden the soil. Years of survival can harden the soil. But God sends showers not only produce harvest, but to soften what suffering made rigid. This is mercy. When God softens you, it may feel like breaking. When tears return, it may feel like weakness. When conviction comes, it may feel like exposure. When old grief rises to the surface, it may feel like regression. But sometimes the tears are the rain. Sometimes the tenderness is the miracle. Sometimes the heart becoming soft again is the first sign that harvest is near. Then David declares, Thou crownest a year with thy goodness, and thy paths drop fatness. God crowns a year, not merely a day, not merely a moment. The year, that means God has authority over the full cycle. The hidden months, the difficult months, the confusing months, the months of waiting, the months of silence, the months where nothing seemed to change. He is able to crown even a painful year with goodness. This does not mean everything that happened was good. It means God is powerful enough to place His goodness over the whole story. He can crown what tried to crush you. He can redeem what tried to ruin you. He can bring fruit out of what felt like famine. He can cause the path behind him to drip with abundance. The devil wants you to believe the year is wasted because it was hard. But the kingdom of God does not measure fruitfulness the way the world does. Some years produce visible harvest. Some years produce roots. Some years produce humility. Some years produce the summit. Some years produce endurance. Some years produce a purified yes. Some years teach the soul to pray without applause, worship without emotion, obey without immediate reward, and trust without visible evidence. And God crowns the year with His goodness. The psalm ends with creation singing. The pastures are clothed with flocks. The valleys also are covered over with corn. They shout for joy. They also sing. The valleys sing. Not only the mountaintops, the valleys, the low places, the places of shadow, the places of humbling, the places where you thought God had passed you by. In Psalm 65, the valley does not remain empty. It is covered with corn. It becomes fruitful. It becomes clothed. It becomes a witness. And it shouts for joy. This is divine reversal. The valley that once echoed with weeping now echoes with worship. The place that once represented loss now carries testimony. The ground that once looked barren now becomes evidence that God was faithful all along. Beloved, Psalm 65 is not just about fields receiving rain. It is about the soul receiving mercy. It is about God hearing prayer when no one else hears. It is about guilt being purged. It is about the chosen being brought near. It is about the restless becoming satisfied. It is about storms being stilled. It is about dry places being watered. It is about hard ground becoming soft again. It is about the year being crowned with goodness. It is about valleys learning to sing. So let the question come gently, but honestly. Where do you need God to visit you? Where has your heart become dry? Where has shame prevailed against you? Where have you mistaken silence for absence? Where have you let the noise of the waves become louder than the voice of the one who stills them? And where is God asking you to wait in praise before the harvest appears? Because praise waiteth. There's a praise that waits before the door opens. A praise that waits before the rain falls. A praise that waits before the field turns green. A praise that waits before the valley sings. A praise that says, God is still worthy in the silence. God is still holy in the waiting. God is still good in the valley. God is still near to the broken. God is still faithful over the year. And one day, the same ground that held your tears will hold your testimony. The same valley that heard your cries will shout for joy. The same season that looked barren will be crowned with goodness. For the God who hears prayer is still listening. The God who purges sin is still cleansing. The God who stills storms is still reigning. The God who waters the earth is still visiting dry places. And the God who crowns a year with goodness has not forgotten how to crown your story with mercy. So wait in praise. Wait with a soft heart. Wait with clean hands. Wait with holy expectation. The rain of God is not empty. The river of God is full of water. And when he comes, even the valleys sing. If you enjoyed today's content, be sure to like and subscribe. Take care and God bless.